The lunar surface was quiet and empty as always. Small puffs of dust rose and fell with each step Dr. Han Jiwoo took across the gray landscape. He moved carefully in his bulky white spacesuit, watching the meter in his hand. The device had been showing normal readings all morning until 5 minutes ago, when it suddenly began to beep. "Are you getting this, Doyen?" Jiwoo asked through his radio. On the other side of the small valley, Dr. Kim Doyen looked up from her own meter. She was the team's rock expert, always searching for unusual moonstones. "Yes, I see it too," she replied. "Something big is under us. Something that should not be here." Their team had come to the moon to look for water ice and useful minerals. No one expected to find anything unusual. The moon had been studied for decades, but the strange energy reading was unlike anything they had seen before. Jiwoo pressed a button on his ARM computer. "Base, this is Jiwoo. We need the deep scanner brought to our location. We've found something." Hours later, the entire 6-person team gathered around a large machine that had been driven out from their moon base. The scanner sent powerful waves deep into the moon's surface and created pictures of what was below. Dr. Park Ji-ho, the language expert, was the first to see the shape forming on the screen. "That can't be right," he said. "Can it?" The picture showed a perfect square shape buried 20 meters below them. Nature did not make perfect squares. Commander Yoon Hyuk stared at the screen with wide eyes. "Someone built something here," he said quietly. Or something did. The team worked without rest for 3 days. They brought digging machines from the base and carefully removed the gray moon dust and rocks covering the object. By the end of the 3rd day, they had uncovered a small part of what appeared to be a giant black wall. Dr. Lee Min-jae, the builder and machine expert, ran her gloved hand over the black surface. "This material," she said, "I've never seen anything like it. It's not metal, not stone, it's not from Earth." Jiwoo nodded. "And look how perfect it is. Not a scratch after who knows how long." Dr. Kang Sungmin used a special tool to check the age of the wall. He checked the reading 3 times before speaking. "According to this, the wall has been here for approximately 1 billion years. The team fell silent. 1 billion years ago, Earth had only the most basic life forms. No humans, no animals, not even plants, just tiny living things in the oceans. "That's impossible," said Commander Hyuk. "Who could have built this?" "Not who," said Sungmin. "What?" As their digging continued, they discovered the wall was part of a massive structure, bigger than any building on Earth. It was a perfect cube, each side measuring 100 meters, with no visible entrance. Earth sent more people to help. Scientists, diggers, and experts of all kinds arrived on the next ships. The discovery was kept secret from the public to prevent panic. Only top government leaders were told. After 2 weeks of careful study, they found what looked like a door on the cube's north side. Strange symbols were carved around its edges. Park Ji-ho spent days studying the symbols. "They're warnings," he finally told the team. "I can't read this language, but all warning signs share certain features. These are telling us not to open whatever this is." That night, the team sat together in their base looking out the window at Earth shining blue in the black sky. The mysterious cube had been built when humans didn't exist. Its builders had left warnings not to open it. Yet the answers it might contain could change human understanding forever. "We need to vote," said Commander Hyuk. "Do we try to open it or do we bury it again and pretend we never found it?" Min-jae spoke first. "If we don't open it, someone else will someday. Better us than someone who might not be careful." "But what if it's dangerous?" asked Doyen. "What if it contains something that could harm Earth?" Sungmin shook his head. "Anything biological would be dead after 1 billion years. If it's a weapon, it would have stopped working ages ago. Nothing man-made lasts even 1,000 years without care, let alone 1 billion. This wasn't made by men," Jiwoo reminded them. The debate lasted hours. Finally, at midnight, they voted. 5-1 in favor of opening the mysterious structure. Only Doyen voted against it. The next morning, Earth Control approved their decision. More equipment would be sent on the next ship. They would try to open what they now called the vault. As the others celebrated, Jiwoo found Doyeon sitting alone in the observation room, staring at the distant cube that shone in their spotlights. "You're worried," he said, sitting beside her. "Wouldn't you be?" she asked. "Whoever built that thing went to enormous trouble to seal it and warn others away. We're ignoring those warnings. We've come too far as a species to turn away from knowledge," said Jiwoo. Doyeon turned to him. "There's an old saying, some doors are closed for a reason. And there's another saying," Jiwoo replied, "nothing ventured, nothing gained." 3 days later, the new equipment arrived. Engineers set up powerful scanning devices that could see through the black material. Their first scan showed that the vault was hollow inside. It contained a large, empty space. "Empty?" asked Commander Hyuk when he saw the scans. "All this trouble to seal an empty room?" "Maybe not empty," said Min-jae, pointing to the floor of the interior. "There are patterns there. And look at these walls. They're lined with the same material as the outside." Park studied the new images carefully. "The symbols inside are different. From the warnings outside, these look like information. Stored knowledge, perhaps. Earth Control gave them final permission to attempt opening the vault." The whole team stood before the massive door as Min-jae's engineers set up their equipment. "If this works," said Commander Hyuk, "we'll be the first humans to enter something built by non-human intelligence. This will change everything we know about life in the universe." Jiwoo looked at Doyeon, who stood slightly apart from the group. She met his eyes but said nothing. "Begin the opening sequence," Hyuk ordered. The engineers activated their machines. Carefully aimed lasers began cutting through the edges of what they hoped was a door. For several minutes nothing happened. Then a deep rumble vibrated through the ground under their feet. "Movement!" shouted one of the engineers. "The door is responding." With a sound like ancient thunder, a seam appeared in the previously solid wall. Dust that had been sealed for 1 billion years puffed outward as the massive door began, slowly but surely, to open. Humanity was about to meet its past, or perhaps its future. Everyone held their breath as the huge door slowly moved. It had not opened for 1 billion years. No human eyes had ever seen what was inside. Time seemed to stop as the door slid sideways into the wall. Commander Hyuk spoke into his radio. "Earth, Control, the door is opening. We are standing by." The voice from Earth came through with a slight delay. "Proceed with extreme caution. Full recording protocols. No one enters until safety is confirmed." When the door finally stopped moving, it revealed a dark passage leading inside the structure. Their lights barely reached into the darkness beyond. Dr. Lee Min-jae checked her instruments. "Air pressure is 0 inside as expected. No signs of radiation or energy readings. It appears safe to approach." Dr. Kang Sungmin stepped forward with a small robot. "We'll send the scout in first. It will take samples and record everything." The robot rolled slowly into the passage, its lights creating strange shadows on the smooth black walls. They all watched the video feed on their wrist screens. The passage was short, only about 10 meters, and then it opened into a larger space. "Look at that," breathed Dr. Park Ji-ho. "It's perfectly round inside." The robot's cameras showed a huge round room, like the inside of a giant ball. The floor was flat, but the walls curved up and became the ceiling. Everything was made of the same black material as the outside. "Estimated diameter is 1 kilometer, said Min-jae, reading her instruments. "That's a massive interior space." The robot moved forward, scanning the floor. Strange lines and shapes were carved into the black surface. They looked like writing or pictures, but nothing anyone recognized. "Park, what do you make of these markings?" asked Commander Hyuk. The language expert leaned closer to his screen. "They're organized in patterns. Some look like star maps. Others might be mathematical formulas. This is definitely a form of communication." Sungmin directed the robot to take samples of the material. "Scout shows no biological contaminants, no bacteria, no viruses, nothing alive." After 2 hours of robot exploration, Earth Control finally gave permission for the team to enter the vault. They would go in pairs, with the first team gathering initial data. "Jiwoo and Doyeon, you're first," said Commander Hyuk. "Min-jae and I will follow after 30 minutes. Park and Sungmin will monitor from outside. Jiwoo looked at Doyun. She still seemed worried, but nodded firmly. They did final checks on their spacesuits and oxygen levels. Ready? Jiwoo asked her. Not really, Doyun answered honestly. But let's go anyway. They walked slowly through the passage, their boots making no sound in the airless space. Their helmet lights shone ahead, revealing the vast round chamber that awaited them. When they stepped into the main chamber, both stopped in awe. Despite seeing it on video, nothing prepared them for how it felt to stand inside something so ancient and alien. The enormity of the space made them feel tiny. Look up, said Doyun. Above them, the curved ceiling was covered in more symbols different from those on the floor. They seemed to tell a story through pictures and strange writing. Jiwoo moved to the center of the room while Doyun began taking readings along the wall. The floor symbols became more complex as he reached the middle. Doyun, come see this, he called. In the very center of the floor was a circular pattern about 3 meters wide. It showed what looked like a solar system, but not one they recognized. 8 planets circled a star with the 4th planet highlighted somehow. Their home system? Wondered Doyun. Maybe, said Jiwoo. And look here. He pointed to a small dot off to the side of the main pattern. This smaller symbol could represent our solar system. They spent 20 minutes taking pictures and recordings of everything they could see. Then Commander Hyuk and Minjae joined them inside. Minjae immediately began using specialized equipment to analyze the black material. This is remarkable, she said after several tests. The molecular structure is unlike anything in our science. It's not just the composition that's alien, it's how the molecules are arranged. Over the next 3 days, the entire team worked in shifts to document everything inside the vault. More scientists arrived from Earth to help. They brought advanced equipment to study the strange symbols. Park Ji-ho made the first breakthrough on the 4th day. I think I understand some of this, he told the team during their meeting. These aren't just random symbols, they're telling a story. Everyone gathered around as Park pointed to the beginning of what he believed was a message. This section shows a species that evolved on this planet here, he said, pointing to the 4th planet in the center pattern. They developed space travel and spread to other worlds in their system. He moved to another section of symbols. Then they began exploring beyond their system. They built outposts on distant worlds. I believe this vault was one such outpost. But why here? Asked Commander Hyuk. Why our moon? Earth, said Sungmin suddenly. They were watching Earth. Park nodded. That's what I think too. Look at these time markers. They match what we know about Earth's history. They were monitoring the development of life on our planet. Doyun frowned. For what purpose? Were they scientists like us, just curious? Or did they have other plans? No one had an answer yet. But, as they continued studying the symbols, a disturbing pattern emerged. There's fear in these later messages, Park explained on the 6th day. Something changed. They were afraid of something. The scientists worked day and night to understand the message. Earth's leaders became increasingly interested in their findings, demanding daily reports. After 2 weeks of intensive study, Park called an emergency meeting. His face was pale as he explained what he had discovered. They sealed this vault and left our system in a hurry, he said. They were running away from something they called the growing dark. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but they were terrified of it. Was it a natural disaster? Asked Minjae. A supernova or something similar? Park shook his head. No. Based on these symbols, I believe they were afraid of us. Of Earth. Of what might evolve here. Silence fell over the room as everyone tried to understand what this meant. That's impossible, said Commander Hyuk finally. Humans didn't exist. 1 billion years ago. Not even dinosaurs existed then. Just simple ocean life. They weren't afraid of what was here, explained Park. They were afraid of what would come. They could somehow see the future. Our future. And something about what they saw terrified them enough to seal away all their knowledge and flee. Jiwoo stared at the floor. So they built this vault as what? A warning beacon? A time capsule? Both, I think, said Park. And there's more. These symbols here near the center pattern? I believe they're instructions for activating something. Activating what? asked Doyen nervously. Park looked around at his colleagues. A signal. I think opening the vault was supposed to send a signal to them, to let them know someone had found their message. Are you saying we just called them back? Minjae asked. After 1 billion years? That's exactly what I'm saying, Park replied. And based on the last part of the message, they're coming to check on who opened their vault. Commander Hayuk immediately reached for his radio. Earth Control, we have an urgent situation. We need to speak with the Security Council immediately. Outside, the stars continued to shine silently. Somewhere out there, perhaps a signal was already racing through space, carrying news that the vault sealed for 1 billion years had finally been opened. News of the signal spread quickly through Earth's governments. Within days, the small moon base grew as military personnel and more scientists arrived. Security increased around the vault. World leaders held emergency meetings to discuss what to do if aliens actually responded to the signal. Despite all this activity, the research team continued their work. Each day brought new discoveries about the symbols inside the vault. 3 days after they learned about the signal, Jiwoo noticed something odd. He was in the center of the vault, photographing the floor patterns, when he saw movement. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. He had been working for 16 hours straight, but when he looked again, he was sure. The patterns are changing, he said into his radio. The floor symbols are moving. Within minutes, the entire team gathered around him. They watched in amazement as the symbols slowly shifted position. It's responding to our presence, said Minjae. She waved her hand over one section, and the patterns beneath moved faster. It's like it's waking up after being dormant for 1 billion years. Commander Hayuk ordered everyone to step back. We don't know what this means. It could be dangerous. I don't think so, said Park. He knelt down, studying the moving patterns. It's trying to communicate. Look, these symbols are arranging themselves into new messages. Over the next few hours, the team watched as the entire floor became active. The static symbols became flowing text, changing and adapting. Park worked frantically to understand the new messages. It's a teaching program, he finally explained. It's trying to teach us their language, starting with basic concepts and building. From there, thanks to the teaching program, Park made rapid progress in translation. By the end of the day, he could understand simple parts of the alien language. They called themselves the Watchers, he told the team during their evening meeting. They found Earth while exploring this part of the galaxy about 1 billion years ago. What did they want with Earth? Asked Doyen. It was just ocean and simple life back then. They were scientists like us, Park continued. They studied developing worlds. Earth was special because they detected the potential for complex life. Here, Sungmin leaned forward. So they built this monitoring station to watch life evolve on Earth? For scientific research? At first, yes, said Park. But then something changed. The teaching program is showing me their history. They had technology that could predict evolutionary paths. They used it on Earth's early life forms and saw what might eventually develop here. Humans, said Jiwoo quietly. Park nodded. Yes, but not just humans. They saw our potential, what we might become. Our future spread through the stars. And that scared them? Asked Commander Hayuk. Terrified them, Park confirmed. Their predictions showed Earth producing a species that would eventually expand across the galaxy. Us. They feared our ambition, our ability to adapt, our drive to conquer. So they ran away, said Minjae. 1 billion years ago, they saw what humans might become and decided to hide. Not just hide, said Park. They erased their presence, removed all traces of their visits to Earth, sealed this vault as their last outpost. But why leave the vault at all? Asked Jiwoo. Why not destroy it completely? Park studied his notes. There were 2 groups among them. One group wanted to destroy all evidence of their existence. The other group argued for preserving their knowledge in case their fears were wrong. The second group won, said Doyen. Partially, Park replied. They compromised. They sealed their knowledge away but included a signal that would activate if the vault was opened. If Earth produced beings capable of finding and opening the vault, the Watchers would be alerted and could decide whether to make contact. And we just triggered that signal, said Commander Hayek grimly. Yes, said Park. According to my translations, the signal has been sent to their home system in what we now call the Andromeda Galaxy. The team fell silent as they considered what this meant. Humans had accidentally called a billion-year-old alien civilization, a civilization that had fled Earth in fear. How long? Jiwoo finally asked. How long until they might arrive? Park consulted with Min-jae, who knew the distances involved. The signal travels instantly through some kind of quantum technology we don't understand, she said. But if they decide to come, they would need to physically travel here. Even with advanced technology, the Andromeda Galaxy is 2.5 million light-years away, said Sungmin. It would take them years, maybe decades to arrive. Just as he finished speaking, a loud alarm sounded from the monitoring station outside the Yer vault. What's that? Asked Commander Hyuk, reaching for his radio. The voice of one of the military officers came through. Sir, we're detecting massive energy readings from deep space. Something big just appeared at the edge of our solar system. The team rushed outside and back to the base. The main control room was packed with scientists and military personnel. On the large screen at the front of the room, a blinking light showed an unknown object approaching Earth. It can't be them already, said Min-jae. That's impossible. The object is moving at incredible speed, said one of the astronomers. At current velocity, it will reach Earth orbit in 3 days. 3 days? Commander Hayek was shocked. Nothing moves that fast. They've had 1 billion years to improve their technology, said Jiwoo. Who knows what they're capable of? Earth's governments ordered full military readiness. Space defense systems were activated. The public was not told the full truth, but news reports mentioned unusual astronomical activities. At the moon base, the research team continued working frantically to learn more from the vault. The teaching program provided more information each hour. I think I understand how they got here so quickly, said Park on the morning of the second day. According to these symbols, the Watchers developed technology to fold space. They don't travel through space. They bend it. Like wormholes? Asked. Min-jae. Something similar, said Park. They can create shortcuts between distant points. Doyen looked worried. If they have that kind of technology, our weapons won't be able to stop them. We need to prepare a message, said Jiwoo suddenly. When they arrive, we need to communicate with them. Show them we're not a threat. How do we do that? Asked Commander Hayek. According to you, they've been afraid of us for 1 billion years. Jiwoo thought for a moment. They were afraid of what we might become. We need to show them what we actually are. As the alien ship drew closer, the world waited in fear. Military forces stood ready. Scientists worked around the clock to prepare defenses. But in the vault on the moon, Jiwoo and his team were trying something different. What are we? Jiwoo asked his colleagues as they gathered in the center of the vault. When you remove all, our technology, all our achievements, all our flaws, what remains at the core of humanity? Curiosity, said Min-jae. Adaptability, added Sungmin. Creativity, offered Park. Fear, said Doyen quietly. We're afraid right now just like they were afraid of us. Jiwoo nodded slowly. Yes. And what do humans do when we're afraid? What do we offer to those who are afraid? He looked around at his colleagues, a plan forming in his mind. Comfort, he said finally. We offer comfort. Comfort? Commander Hayek looked at Jiwoo like he had lost his mind. They traveled 2.5 million light-years because they fear us, and you want to offer them comfort? The team had gathered in the meeting room at the moon base. Outside, through the large window, they could see the vault in the distance, its black surface shining under the lights. Yes, said Jiwoo firmly. Think about it. They ran away because they were afraid of what we might become. Now they're coming back to see if their fears were right. And they might destroy us if they decide we're a threat, said Doyen. Exactly, Jiwoo nodded. So we need to show them we're not the monsters they feared. We need to show them something, uniquely human, something they might not expect. Park had been quiet, thinking. Now he spoke. The teaching program showed me more of their history. The Watchers were a logical species. They valued efficiency and purpose in all things. Their decisions were based on facts and predictions. No emotions? Asked Minjae. Not like ours, said Park. They understood basic survival emotions like fear, but they didn't have our range of emotional responses. Jiwoo smiled. Then that's our advantage. We need to respond in a way they won't predict. Over the next few hours, Jiwoo explained his idea. It was simple, perhaps too simple. But the more the team discussed it, the more they felt it might work. I need to present this to Earth's leaders, said Commander Hyuk when they finished. They're expecting a military response, not this. Tell them it's our best chance, said Jiwoo. The Watchers have technology we can't match. Fighting them would be pointless. The emergency meeting with world leaders lasted for hours. Scientists argued with military commanders. Politicians demanded guaranteed safety. In the end, they were divided. Some nations wanted to try Jiwoo's plan. Others prepared their weapons. Meanwhile, the alien ship continued its approach. Scientists were able to capture images as it passed Mars. It was enormous, at least 10 kilometers long, with a design unlike any human spacecraft. It looked almost alive, with sections that moved and changed shape. Earth to Moon Base, came the call on the morning of the third day. The Security Council has made a decision. You may proceed with your plan, Dr. Han. But military forces will remain on high alert. Jiwoo's team began preparations immediately. They gathered the items they needed and transported them to the vault. Time was running out. The alien ship would reach Earth orbit within hours. As they worked, Park continued studying the teaching program. I've translated more of their language, he told the others, enough to create a simple message. Will they understand it? Asked Doyen. I think so, said Park. The teaching program was designed to help us communicate with them. I believe they'll receive the same language lessons when they arrive. By afternoon, they were ready. The team stood in the center of the vault, looking at what they had created. It seemed so small, so simple compared to the advanced technology around them. Do you really think this will work? Asked Minjae. I hope so, said Jiwoo, because it's the most honest thing we can offer them. They left the vault and returned to the base. Now there was nothing to do but wait. The alien ship would arrive within the hour. At exactly 5:47 p.m. Earth time, the massive ship entered orbit around the moon. It positioned itself directly above the vault. Smaller craft separated from the main ship and descended toward the lunar surface. They're landing, said Commander Hyuk, watching the monitors. 3 smaller ships heading for the vault. Everyone held their breath as the alien craft touched down on the gray dust. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then hatches opened. On each ship, and figures emerged. The aliens were tall and thin, with 4 limbs and smooth skin that shifted colors. They moved gracefully in the low gravity, needing no spacesuits. Somehow they could survive in the vacuum of space. They're entering the vault, reported one of the military officers. Inside the base, Jiwoo's team watched through the cameras they had left in the vault. The aliens moved slowly, examining everything. They touched the walls and floor, activating the patterns. The teaching program began again, symbols flowing across the surfaces. The aliens gathered in the center of the vault, where Jiwoo's team had left their message. For a long time they stood there, looking at the simple object on the floor. Then they looked at the message Park had written beside it, using their language. Hours passed with no communication from the aliens. Military commanders grew nervous. Some suggested launching a preemptive attack while the alien leaders were inside the vault. No, said Jiwoo firmly. We need to give them time to understand. Finally, as Earth rose over the lunar horizon, casting blue light through the base windows, the communication system activated. The aliens were sending a message. At first, it was just sounds, clicks, and whistles that no one understood. Then, gradually, the sounds formed into words, simple words in English. We receive your message, said the alien voice. We not understand. Explain purpose. Park leaned toward the microphone. The object we left is called a blanket. He explained slowly. Humans use it for comfort and warmth. We make them for our children, our families, and those we care about. There was a long pause. Then the alien voice returned. Purpose of comfort for us? We not need physical warmth. Not physical warmth, said Jiwoo, taking over. Emotional comfort. You left because you feared what humans might become. We understand. Fear. When our children fear the dark, we comfort them with soft blankets and kind words. We are offering you the same comfort. Another long pause followed. The team could see on the monitors that the aliens were communicating with each other, making quick movements with their color-changing skin. You fear us now, said the alien voice finally. Yet you offer comfort, not weapons. This is not predicted behavior. Humans often do unpredicted things, said Jiwoo. That's part of who we are. We study your world for many time cycles, the alien continued. Your kind fights, destroys, takes more than needs. Yes, Jiwoo admitted. We do all those things. But we also create beauty. We comfort each other, we learn from our mistakes. The main screen in the base suddenly lit up, showing images from Earth. Cities and forests, oceans and mountains. The aliens were watching their world right now. Your weapons point at our ship, said the alien voice. You prepare to attack. Some of us are afraid, said Jiwoo. Just as you were afraid. But we chose to offer comfort first, not weapons. That was our choice. The aliens fell silent again. On the monitor, the team could see them touching the blanket, examining its simple, woven pattern. It was handmade by artisans from many Earth nations, each adding a section in their traditional style. Finally, the alien voice returned. We will consider. Main ship remains in orbit. We return to discuss more. The smaller ships lifted off from the lunar surface and returned to the main vessel. Earth's military tracked them carefully, but there were no aggressive moves. They didn't reject us, said Doyen with relief. That's something. They didn't accept us either, said Commander Hyuk. They're still deciding. Jiwoo looked out the window at the distant vault. But they're thinking about us differently now. They're questioning their billion-year-old fears. All because of a blanket, said Minjae, shaking her head in wonder. Not just a blanket, said Jiwoo. Because we chose comfort over conflict. We showed them something they didn't predict. As night fell on the lunar base, the alien ship remained in orbit, a bright point of light among the stars. Earth continued to rise and set in the black sky. And inside the vault that had been sealed for 1 billion years, a simple blanket lay where advanced aliens had touched it, studying the unexpected message from the species they had once feared. For 7 days, the alien ship remained in orbit around the moon. Each day, smaller ships would descend to the vault, and the aliens would spend hours inside. Sometimes they sent messages with questions about human history or culture. Other times, they simply observed the Earth from afar. World leaders grew increasingly nervous as the waiting continued. Military forces remained on high alert. The public was told only that scientists were in contact with an advanced alien species, but not how ancient or powerful they truly were. On the morning of the 8th day, Jiwoo was awakened by an urgent call from Commander Hyuk. They're requesting a meeting, said Hyuk. Not just communication through messages. They want representatives from Earth to meet them inside the vault. Within hours, a special committee was formed. 6 humans would represent Earth, 2 scientists, 2 diplomats, and 2 cultural experts. Jiwoo was selected as one of the scientists. Why me? He asked when Commander Hyuk told him the news. Because it was your idea, said Hyuk. The blanket, offering comfort instead of showing fear. They specifically asked for the one who thought of it. The meeting was set for the following day. The human representatives gathered at the moon base, preparing for humanity's first face-to-face contact with the Watchers. Doyun found Jiwoo in the observation room, staring out at the distant Earth. Are you ready? She asked. No, he admitted. How can anyone be ready for this? They've had 1 billion years to develop their civilization. We must seem like children to them. Maybe that's not a bad thing, said Doyen. Children see the world differently. They ask questions adults would never think to ask. The next morning, the 6 representatives walked together to the vault. They wore their normal clothes, not spacesuits, as the aliens had created a safe atmosphere inside for the meeting. When they entered the main chamber, 5 watchers waited for them. They stood nearly 3 meters tall, their skin shifting between blue and green colors. They had no visible mouths, communicating through changes in their skin and small movements of their 4 limbs. A device in the center of the room translated their communications into human languages. "We welcome humans to this place of meeting," came the translated voice. "We are the Watchers, keepers of knowledge across many star systems." One of the human diplomats stepped forward and introduced each member of their group. When she came to Jiwoo, the alien's skin flashed with bright patterns. "You are the one who thought to leave comfort," said the lead watcher, moving closer to Jiwoo. "This was unexpected. We wanted to show you that we understand fear," said Jiwoo, "and that we respond to fear with kindness when we can." The watchers communicated among themselves, their skin rippling with complex patterns. Then the leader turned back to the humans. "For 1 billion of your years we have watched your world from afar," it said. "Our earliest observers saw the simple life in your oceans. Our predictive technology showed what might evolve there." "And you feared what you saw," said Jiwoo. "Yes," confirmed the watcher. "Our predictions showed a species with great intelligence but also great violence. Beings who would spread across stars, consuming resources, changing worlds to suit their needs." "Humans," said one of the cultural experts. "The prediction was accurate in many ways," continued the watcher. "You have violence. You have consumed your world's resources at unsustainable rates. You have ambitions to spread beyond your planet." The humans could not deny these truths. They waited nervously for the watchers to continue. "But our predictions did not show everything," said the watcher. Its skin changed to a soft golden color. "We did not predict your art, your music, your stories. We did not predict how you would use technology to heal as well as harm. And we did not predict that you would respond to ancient fear with a simple offering of comfort." The watcher moved to the center of the room, where the blanket still lay. It picked up the woven cloth with its long fingers. "No species we have ever encountered would respond this way," it said. "When faced with an unknown power that could destroy them, all others prepared for war. You prepared for war too, but you also offered comfort." "It's what makes us human," said Jiwoo. "We can hold opposing ideas at the same time. We can fear you and still wish to comfort you. We can prepare for the worst while hoping for the best." The lead watcher placed the blanket back on the floor. "We have decided," it announced. "The vault will be given to humans. All knowledge contained within will be yours to learn. We will remove the signal beacon. No more watchers will come unless invited." The humans exchanged surprised looks. This was far more than they had hoped for. "However," continued the watcher, "we wish to establish communication between our civilizations, not as watchers and watched, but as equals. There is much we can learn from each other." "We would welcome that," said one of the diplomats. "But may I ask what changed your minds? You feared us for 1 billion years. What convinced you to trust us now?" The watcher's skin shifted to a deep purple. "The blanket," it said simply. "No truly dangerous species would think to offer comfort to what it fears." Over the next few weeks, the watchers shared some of their knowledge with humanity. They explained how to read the teaching program that would unlock the vault's full secrets over time. They shared star maps showing habitable worlds. They even offered limited information about their space-folding technology. Before they departed, the lead watcher asked to speak with Jiwoo privately. They stood together in the center of the vault. "Our species has existed for far longer than yours," said the watcher. "We have seen civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy. We have collected knowledge for billions of years, yet you taught us something new." "What was that?" asked Jiwoo. "That predictions cannot show the full complexity of life. said the Watcher. "That evolution can create unexpected beauty alongside expected dangers. That comfort can be offered even to those who may harm you." The Watcher's skin glowed with warm colors. "We sealed this vault to hide our knowledge from what we feared you would become. We never imagined you would open it just to leave a blanket." On the day the Watchers departed, people across Earth watched the sky. The massive ship glowed briefly as it activated its space-folding technology, then disappeared among the stars. They were returning to their home in Andromeda, but promised to return in 50 years. Inside the vault, now officially named Humanity's Cradle by the United Nations, scientists began the long process of learning from the Watcher's knowledge. Park and his team worked day and night to translate the teaching program. Jiwoo often visited the center of the vault, where the blanket remained on display in a special case. Beside it, a simple plaque told the story in multiple Earth languages. They sealed the vault for 1 billion years. We opened it just to leave a blanket. Whenever new scientists arrived to work at the vault, Jiwoo would take them to see the blanket first. "Remember this," he would tell them. "All the knowledge in the universe means nothing without compassion." The Watchers had 1 billion years of science and technology, but we showed them something new. "What was that?" the new arrivals would ask, and Jiwoo would simply point to the blanket and smile. That the most powerful answer to fear isn't more fear, it's comfort. Earth continued its orbit around the sun, the moon continued its dance around Earth. And deep inside the ancient vault, humanity began its next great journey, learning from the past while creating a future that even 1 billion years of predictions had failed to imagine. The end.